Sup nerds, today we're going to walk through the next capstone dungeon called the Heart of Tuzari. So on this first pack, if you pull the mobs away from the obelisk right here, that will allow another player to start the animation, and this ball will float up and then unlock the gate that keeps you out of the rest of the dungeon. What you need to make sure of is that the person who clicks the obelisk does not enter combat. Okay, next I do want to take a moment here and talk about this pull. I recommend not pulling this pack of Bloodfang Raiders. They hit really hard. I would probably pull them by themselves. And during this, what you're going to want to watch out for are these demonic lashes by the Hellcallers. That's going to be your interrupt priority. Just going to give a quick shout out to my friend Ian and his crew as we're going to watch their POV. Alright, in this pull, again there is a Hellcaller, so you want to interrupt that demonic lash. But also there's a couple of other ones. This one called Big Ooga Flame. Lastly, Hellcallers also have Restore Vitality, which you also need to interrupt. Alright, let's talk about the first boss, Moar'Gore, the Master of Sacrifice. Alright, his first mechanic, Siphon Blood, will summon these 3 orbs. What you're going to want to do is have the 2 DPS players and the healer go get one of the orbs. It will give a debuff to you. The way you clear it is this Sacrificial Pyre mechanic. Notice how players just sort of dip into it for just a moment, and that will clear their stacks. At this point in the fight, Siphon Bloods will spawn 5 marks. So the tank's going to be in charge of making sure that he routes the boss so the boss doesn't get hit by any of the orbs. The other 3 players will be in charge of absorbing the orbs just like before, but there's going to be more and more stacks of them. Don't forget to use your personals. Alright, for this pull, what you're going to want to watch out for is the Profane Invokers. Wither is going to be the priority target for interrupts. Double Profane Invokers and the Executioner. Just want to make sure you're really good on your interrupts on those withers for this pack. You want to make sure to avoid this Executioner. He hits really hard. And here's another pack of the double Profane Invokers and the Executioner. Alright, you'll notice here that you can cut a diagonal on these stairs and avoid both of those packs. They do not do it here. Someone does snag it. It is a little bit of a tight jump, but you can avoid them using that diagonal. Now we move on to the second boss of Vun'Kah, the Thorned Maw. Fang Root Snap is the tank buster. Make sure you use the defensive. Then what we do is, for this mechanic, the Legion of Vun'Kah, separate the room into sections. So the tank will cover one section, the DPS will cover each their own sections, and kind of keep in that, because what you want to do is you want to soak all of these mechanics. You just need to step into them, and that will prevent them from spawning one of these little ads here. So after that, he's going to cast Raise Terror Vines. It's going to summon these two big vines. What you want to do is have the ranged interrupt the far one, and then they can cleave off of the one that he's near. Then when that one's dead, the tank will bring it to the second one and cleave that one off till dead. Thornmother's Slumber is a great time to use your offensive abilities. She stands still and takes extra damage during that time. Alright, now into the final boss, Prophet Ez'rath. So the first thing he's going to do is cast Ez'rath's Chosen. And Dark Malice is just a big AoE damage. You want to make sure you get away from him out of this circle. My group really likes to use the damage reduction trinkets during those times. Now going back to Ez'rath's Chosen, if they reach the middle, the boss will get a huge damage buff. You might be able to survive one of them, however it is unlikely that you would survive anymore. So the tank's going to be in charge of bringing the boss to the Chosen, and the DPS will cleave off of the Chosen onto the boss and use any means necessary to keep the Chosen out of the middle circle. Now, there will also be this mechanic called Wicked Hook, which helps the players. So what you're going to want to do, if it targets you, you want to stand between the boss and one of the Chosen, because the boss will hook the very first thing that it hits. So if it is a Chosen, it will bring them to the boss. If they're on the other side of the portal, that's okay. It'll be fine because it'll still have to run and trigger the portal. Also, when a Chosen dies, it will spawn a rotating beam that deals a huge amount of damage if you touch it, but that will disappear after a short amount of time. If there are no Chosen when the Wicked Hook is out, then your tank must go to it and use a defensive and stand between the boss and the DPS or the healer, because it'll really hurt those characters. Now, at 50%, the boss will phase, and you'll start these 4 lines that go across the map. You want to try to make sure, if you're a melee, of course, to stay in the section with the boss, the one that the tank will be in. If you're a range, it's not as important. Now, the important thing about this is, as soon as it happens, the first thing that's going to do is it's going to trigger him to cast Ez'rath's Chosen again. If there are already Chosen out walking towards the portal, it will spawn another set of it. So be very careful. If you haven't killed the first set of Chosen by this time, you might get 2 sets. Gauging when to hold damage may be important at this time. You'll notice here one of the players used their chicken trinket on the Chosen, which is a really awesome piece of tech. And that's it. You have moved out of Adept, and you are now champions.